is Margaret Ann Windsor. The name I have to use is, excuse me, Peggy Ann Childers. I wanted to, I've been writing about mind control murders done in patterns and about my kidnapping in 41 and being brought to Moulton, Alabama, and running political campaigns, and a lot happened. But over the years, there's been a lot of the murders committed that have been done with a weapon that's mind control. And I wanted to say this. I wrote a book, and I will say this, go back to give a reference. I wrote a book, MDL License to Kill, in 76 to really till 80. It was about Larry McDonald, who was a congressman, U.S. congressman, also a physician at Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, and about the deaths of forensic pathologists there, Warren and Rosina Matthews, and they were murdered, and mind control was involved in a lot of what I was writing about. I had a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, and a few months later, April the 1st of 80, April Fool, I was force-fed antifreeze and should have died. Ended up across the state line in Huntsville illegally, taken there where I worked for the district attorney, Fred Simpson. And I want to go to this. Larry Flint was shot, and I was flown out to his home when I was in a political campaign in 83, twice. I was flown out there in October. And to replace the doctor I was telling you about, Larry McDonald, congressman. The plane he was on from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea, was shot down by the Soviet, or by Russia, MiG, when it veered out of its airspace, the KAL he was on. All passengers aboard went down and supposedly died. That's what they say. So I was in that campaign. The person that shot Larry Flint, March the 6th of 78, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I'm in Marietta, about 45 miles away, was programmed to shoot Mr. Flint and his attorney died. Now then, I written about some of these mass, mind control can be used to a mass audience. In other words, back then it was so powerful and nobody wanted to hear it, but that's how many years ago, since 80. Corporations use it now. The agencies, government agencies use it. It's so mass. Edward Snowden only touched the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, on telling about what can be done. At this moment, the agencies, some of the powerful ones here, can reach out, and you're not immune to it. You think if you pretend it's not there or that it's crazy or something, that it won't happen to you. That's not what's going on. And I wanted to get this, and then I'll try to get some other things on the video. I thought this pretty much was a good description of mind control. They've been programming for a long time. Back 53, they were called, MK Ultra was called before Congress. But anyway, so things have advanced technology and everything. Mind control is like giving a person a massive, complete personality overhaul. Or, and this is a good word for it, personality transplant. So the agencies or corporation doing the programming are, in fact, not reading one's mind, rather telling the subjects what to think and do. It's almost like the game Clue. It's a puzzle to put together. The motive is that of the agency or corporation doing the programming, not the subjects, not the puppet they're using. So you're not going to get a motive out of James Holmes, of the Grand Theater shootings in Aurora, Colorado, or Tucson, Arizona shooter, or any of those, like the Virginia, University of Virginia at Blacksburg, the shooter there on April the 16th of '07 that shot 32 and then shot himself because he was commanded to. Those were done in patterns, and they can be proven. So some of these were deliberately done in patterns and can be proven. Mind control is invisible. So people somehow, they're afraid of it, but they'll shut it out because it's not going to happen to them. Well, they've made it so that the beheadings is very visual, and this scares you to death. But it's not going to stop anything until it's addressed. The weapon and who's using it is told. So I wanted to go a little further. They've and I put this on YouTube, and I don't know if I put it on Facebook, but there were a number of the mind control murders done in patterns here at Virginia Tech and over at University of Virginia. Some of the abductions, and by the way, one that just happened, were done in patterns, the abductions, and then I think Randy Taylor has been found guilty of murder, even though the body of Alexis Murphy has not been found. She wasn't a student at the University of Charlottesville, but she lived not too far from there. I want to go back, though, to Virginia Tech at Blacksburg. That's on one side of me here in Roanoke, and University of Virginia is on the other. There was a Chinese student there, January the 23rd. When was that? I thought I put the date down. And I've got '09, so I guess that's correct. He was a student for about a year at Tech, and everybody described him as nice and polite, no problems with him from China. Well, the day that he took a friend of his, she was new at school, she was from China in a new country here, he took her to a campus cafe, and she was a nice person, been there a week or so, and suddenly he gets the bright idea of jumping up and decapitating her. And this was in court records, and he's in prison. So ask yourself, even though you don't want to admit it, what would make this normal human being suddenly decide to jump up and slice off somebody's head that he hardly knew that was from his country? What's the reason behind it? Mind control? I would think so. Now then, you've got ISIS, and really, if you don't want to tune it out, you have to wonder if some of that is not done. That some of those people are under mind control to join and do that. But you're getting away from the people doing it. Where it's coming from, who's controlling all this? The United States is. You know it. But the Moore, Oklahoma, I can't say there are names and the fact that it's just happened that would lead me to believe it's a mind control one. The Moore and the name Colleen, the name Mark, who shot Alton, and Alton would be a name that fits in. But anyway, they're trying to say maybe it's a copycat. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. There's nothing in copycats. You can't copycat these. Mind control murders done in patterns. You cannot copycat them. It's a murder weapon, and I've said that people who are programmed are victims and being forced to say and do what they do. So I don't know. Let me scan over here. I think I probably got all I can put on here. If you want to really stop and think about the Ebola and everything, and the AIDS, I wrote about I wrote about mind control, but I wrote about Center for Disease Control and Emory back in the book. So I won't get into all that again. I've done them previous videos. But you can Google this. It's other people who have their degrees and all this, if you don't want to believe me, who have made the statements that the United States, a project, an agency of the United States, not just the Center for Disease Control, actually genetically engineered these viruses and diseases. And what they do, I mean, you can jump and read this too. You know what's going on. You're not deaf or dumb, or I better not put the other. I'm almost that.